In an event of an emergency, a marshal will direct you to the nearest fire exit and to the relevant assembly points once you get outside. Wheelchair users and other people with mobility issues, please note the fire exit for you to use will be the doors nearest to the stage on your left or any door on the right. The ceremony this afternoon will start when the band starts playing the processional music and the procession will enter the hall. At this point, the Chief Marshal will ask you all to stand. Please remain standing until the procession party is on the stage, when the Chief Marshal will advise you to sit. During the ceremony, the use of mobile phones is strictly prohibited, so please ensure all mobile phones are either switched off or put on silent. We ask you all to refrain from talking throughout the ceremony and to please remain seated as far as possible during the ceremony to minimise disruption or disturbance for other guests. Please note, photographs can be taken during the ceremony, but we kindly ask that you do not obstruct the view of other guests. At the end of the ceremony, the band will play again, and we will ask you to stand while the procession leaves the hall. We would ask the graduates to join the procession as it leaves the hall, followed by the guests, and make your way to the Edward Clwyd Centre, where hospitality and refreshments will be served. Please do not leave the hall until directed to do so by the marshals to allow the procession time to clear the hall. We would ask you to arrange to meet the graduates in the Edward Clwyd Centre after the ceremony and not in the main reception area. We are delighted to be able to welcome you to the university today, and we hope you enjoy the ceremony and the rest of your evening. Thank you.
Croeso i Brifysgol Glyndŵr ac i seremoni raddio y Brifysgol, y chweched o 6 seremoni i'w chynnal dros 3 diwrnod. Welcome to Glyndŵr University and to the university's graduation ceremony, the 6th of 6 ceremonies to be held over 3 days. Y mae 2 ran i'r seremoni, sy'n cael ei galw yn gynulliad y Brifysgol. Yn y rhan gyntaf, byddwn nhw'n derbyn yn gymrawd anrhydeddus unigolyn a ystyrir yn deilwng o'r anrhydedd yma. Yn ail hanner y seremoni, byddwn nhw'n cyflwyno tystysgrifau, diplomau a graddau. There are 2 parts to this ceremony, known as a congregation of the university. In the first part, we will receive as an honorary fellow an individual who has been judged worthy of this honour. In the second half of the ceremony, we will be presenting certificates, diplomas and degrees. Mae'n rhoi pleser mawr I mi wahodd Sir John Shortridge, Canghellor y Brifysgol, I agor y ceremony. It gives me great pleasure to invite Sir John Shortridge, Chancellor of Glyndŵr University, to open the ceremony.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, graduands. For many of you, today's ceremony is the official end of your studies at Glyndŵr University and is marked by these formal proceedings known as a congregation, followed by informal celebrations in the Edward Lloyd Centre. The reason for this congregation is so that degrees can be conferred, honorary fellowships awarded, and other business which concerns this university be transacted. And so, by the authority given to me by the university, it gives me great pleasure to open this congregation of Glyndŵr University and to ask that the university proclamation be read.
Hyder trwy addysg. Bydded hysbys I aelodau'r Brifysgol ac I bawb sydd yn bresennol y cynhelir heddiw ar y dyddiad yma. Dydd Gwener y 10 o Hydref 2015 yn Ref Wrecsam. Gynulliad awdurdodedig Prifysgol Glyndŵr a Prifysgol Cymru I dderbyn yn gymrawd anrhydeddus unigolion teilwng sydd trwy ei weithredoedd wedi profi hyn yn deilwng o barch y gymdeithas academaidd. Derbynir i'w gwobrau hefyd unigolion sydd trwy efridiaeth yn y Brifysgol a thrwy ddysg medr a dyfal barhad wedi teilyngu'r cyfryw raddau yn unol ac yn orideniadau'r Brifysgol, gyda phob gweddi a dymuniad ar iddynt, fwynhau iechyd a hir hodil I wasanaethu ei oes a'i cenedl danfedydd y nef. Yna, dy oleini, ac hyfyd mewn tywychwch a dywychwch, a fydd fel hanner dydd, a rhai efaddant ohoni ti a adeiladant yr hen ddiffeddleoedd. Y mae digonedd o aer ac o emau, ond geiriau iachus yw trysor gwerthfarogaf. Hyder trwy addysg, confidence through education. Be it known to members of the university and to all present here that the authorised congregation of Glyndŵr University and the University of Wales are being held here in the town of Wrexham. This day, Friday the 30th of October 2015, to receive as an honorary fellow a worthy person who through his actions and deeds has shown himself to be worthy of the respect of the academic community. In addition, those who have through studied at the university and through learning ability and perseverance been deemed worthy of university awards in accordance with the ordinances of the university will be admitted to their appropriate degrees, in the hope that they may be given health and long life to serve their generation and their country under the blessing of heaven. Then shall thy light rise in obscurity, and thy darkness be as the noonday, and they that shall be of thee small build the old waste places. There is gold and a multitude of rubies, but the lips of knowledge are a precious jewel.
Y mae Owain Glyndŵr wedi ein ysbrydoli ni dros y canrifoedd. Tra roedd Shakespeare yn disgrifio'r dyn, roedd y bardd Cymraeg Iolo Goch yn disgrifio llys Glyndŵr. Gorau Cymro, tro trylew, biau'r wlad, lun bywer lew, gŵr meingrydd, gorau mangre, a ffiau'r llys, hoff yw'r lle. The spirit of Glyndŵr has inspired generations. The poet, Iolo Goch, described his court, while Shakespeare spoke of the man. He is a worthy gentleman, exceedingly well-read, and profited in strange concealments, valiant as a lion and wondrous affable, and as bountiful as mines of India. Y mae'n bleser gen I alw yn awr ar Louise Casella I gyflwyno James Wharton am gymrodoriaeth anrhydeddus. It now gives me the pleasure to call upon Louise Casella to present James Wharton for an honorary fellowship.
James Wharton is a son of Wrexham, a soldier who served his country in Iraq as a member of the Household Cavalry, and a writer and high-profile advocate of equality issues and gay rights, both within the army and in society as a whole. Originally from Gwersyll, James attended Ysgol Bryn Allen, and while at school joined the Army Cadets, where he found friendship, adventure, and a sense of belonging that led him to join the army at just 16. James joined the Household Cavalry, undertaking public and ceremonial duties in London and in Windsor, and saw action in Iraq, where he swapped his horse for a tank. During his time in the army, and with the encouragement of his close friends, James was open about his sexuality. This was at a time when longer-serving fellow officers and soldiers were only just adjusting, and not always well, to the UK Armed Forces' changed legal stance on homosexuality. James's openness and authenticity about being gay challenged inherent and long-held homophobic beliefs among some peers and senior officers. James was clear. The freedom to be himself also meant he was free to concentrate wholly on his duties and being a better soldier. His stance played a significant part in open-up dialogue, both in the UK and beyond, that led to attitude change and acceptance in the armed services, and indeed a seismic shift of legal acceptance in the United States military. In 1999, just 4 years before James joined up, it was illegal for a member of the UK Armed Forces to be a practicing homosexual. By 2010, in a measure of just how far not only legal but cultural and social boundaries had shifted, James was able to celebrate a civil partnership in a ceremony in the army barracks. And in the very week of that wedding was at 10 Downing Street, at a reception celebrating the UK's LGBT community. Undoubtedly, James's courage, openness and authenticity played a huge part in creating that change and in paving the way for fellow soldiers to be equally open and to serve their country as better soldiers as a result. On leaving the army in 2013, James published his best-selling memoir, Out in the Army, My Life as a Gay Soldier. He was widely feted in the media and has since established himself as a writer and frequent commentator on military issues. James's role in promoting LGBT rights, particularly within the army, has deservedly attracted wide recognition. He has repeatedly appeared in the independent newspaper's Pink List as one of the most influential LGBT people in the UK, and in 2014, he was greatly honoured to have been awarded the Freedom of the City of London. While James is largely identified with spearheading the acceptance of gay soldiers, his campaigning zeal and interests stretch wider. Towards the end of his time in the army, James became involved with Stonewall, touring secondary schools alongside Sir Ian McKellen to combat homophobia in the classroom, and recognising the support and help needed by LGBT teenagers finding their way in life. He continues to work to challenge attitudes and promote acceptance of diversity among teenagers and school children. James is now also a strong voice in the struggle for support and justice for armed service veterans, highly supportive of the work of charities in this field and critical of the lack of ongoing support provided by the armed services themselves. We anticipate with great interest the impact as he makes the veterans' cause more widely heard. Chancellor, I present James Wharton, for the sake of honour, Fellow of Glyndŵr University.
Wow, thank you. Chancellor, Vice-Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. This means a lot. And last night I was very, very privileged to attend the Fellows' dinner, but I must warn you that did involve some wine, so anything could happen in the next 5-10 minutes. I'm going to warn you now. But I want to start just by saying again, thank you very much. This means a lot to me. And I'd like to also thank the Student Guild for putting me up for this fellowship as well. I'm really, really grateful. And I will always remember it. But I think it's worth pointing out, I'm feeling very strongly about this. This isn't about recognising somebody for going out into the world and enjoying a little bit of success. And this isn't about handing someone an award for making a difference or for putting something right that was maybe once upon a time wrong. This recognition, this metaphorical pat on the back, this presentation of an honorary fellowship, to me, is actually about an institution, a traditional institution at that. Universities are places where history can be made, after all, wholly and completely underlining its commitment to equality and diversity. It's hard to believe now, just 2 years after equal marriage became law, that just 48 years ago it was a crime to be gay in this country. In 1967, the law, homosexuality, was confined to the British history books, and with it the terrible injustices that saw many excellent men have their lives left in ruins. I could recall names of greats like Alan Turing. I could talk of the literary genius that was Oscar Wilde. There are countless famous examples of men who fell victims to disgusting state-sponsored discrimination wrapped up in something called the law. But there are thousands and thousands more everyday men going about everyday lives who were also convicted and also lost out on so much more because the times did not favour an element of their beings, a characteristic of what made them individual. All those men living and those who are dead have never had their convictions quashed, apart from, of course, Alan Turing, who I've already referenced. He received a pardon posthumously quite recently from the Queen. For my own world, another institution, the Army, of which I left 2 years ago, the year 1967 came and went like any other. There was no law change in the military where homosexuality was concerned. Indeed, there remained an exemption in place from that law change to just 15 years ago, when in January 2000, finally, the European Courts of Human Rights ruled the exclusion of gay men and women from Britain's military unlawful. And with it, the then Prime Minister, Tony Blair, announced in Parliament that the ruling would have an immediate effect. Gay people would henceforth be allowed to serve in the military like everybody else. In an instant, everything changed. Great. Laws changed, gays serve, everything would be fine. But only it wasn't. In 1967, just because there was a sudden change in the law, didn't mean that society suddenly came to accept the fact that some men could only love other men. When the government announced in 2000 that some men could love other men and also serve in their army, the culture in the military, similarly to that in the 60s, didn't change overnight either. When legislation changes, often culture lags behind. And that culture does not change until a group of motivated people come along and act as a catalyst to bring about that change. And that's what I witnessed in the military. My first day in the army was on the 7th of September 2003, a clear 3 years after the announcement by Blair in Westminster. On paper and in theory, I could have turned up waving a rainbow flag, shouting to the world I was gay. However, you'll be pleased to hear, I'm sure, that I didn't. And just as well. I said goodbye to my folks, and they're here today somewhere, actually. And let me tell you, I've put them through a bit of stress over the last 12 years. I said goodbye to them, and I went about starting my adventure. But it wasn't long before I came face to face with the harshness of the culture I found the army to be now 12 years ago. An hour after saying farewell to my parents, I was taken into a room with 48 other recruits, all of us wide-eyed and terrified, where a sergeant addressed us. And this was his welcoming talk. This was an opportunity for him to lay down his law. I remember it if it was only yesterday, his opening monologue. He said, "There are 3 rules you have to follow whilst under my control. Always be on time. Don't bully anybody." Those first 2 rules I thought were pretty reasonable. I could live with them. It was a bit like school, really. But the 3rd rule was quite different. "And don't come out if you're queer. I can't stand queers." There was a mixed reaction from the 49 of us stood listening to his every word. Some laughed, some looked to the ground, unsure how to respond. Me, I stood there and felt the life fall out of me. By that autumn, I knew full well I was gay. I'd known for certain for at least 2 years, and had been fairly sure for many more years before that. I was nowhere near ready to tell anybody about it. Indeed, nobody in the entire world knew. But upon hearing that 3rd and final rule, my inner sexuality was brought instantly to the front of my mind, but then immediately buried to the very depths of my being. I hated it, and I decided the army could change me. The damage that does to a vulnerable 16-year-old is immeasurable. I stayed closeted through my 16th and 17th year as a direct result of that man's words. And I want you to remember those words because I'm going to come back to them later. When we consider where the army was in 2003, we have to consider this. The majority of those serving in the ranks at that point had joined the organisation in either the 80s or the 90s. The army was a very different place back then to what it was in 2003, and certainly to what it is today. Incredibly difficult periods in Northern Ireland in the 80s, the first Gulf War, a most bloody episode if you ever talk to veterans from that particular conflict, and of course the troubles in the Balkans, which are an unattractive memory for many soldiers and veterans throughout the 90s. It was a volatile old place, and the men and women of the army were war tough and hard. When they joined the army, they were taught, like me, to strip a rifle blindfolded, to march smartly, and to know the ins and outs of the law of armed conflict. They were also taught, whilst all those things were being drilled into their young minds, that being gay wasn't only wrong, but actually illegal. If they merely suspected a fellow soldier to be gay, they had a lawful obligation to report them. A report would be made, the Special Investigation Branch of the Royal Military Police would be called in, and no area of that soldier's life would be off limits to their investigation. They were hunted out, and when the evidence was found, it could be a letter off a lover or a photograph of 2 men in loving embrace holding hands, they were criminalised and sent to military prison, unaffectionately known as the Glasshouse. Friends, this isn't something I'm talking about from the 19th century. This was happening right up into the end of 1999, a date in all our lifetimes. In that final year alone, 298 professionally trained soldiers lost their livelihoods because they were found to be gay. That's a greater number than the losses sustained in the Falklands and the First Gulf War combined. Those people have never had their military convictions quashed. Many of them have committed suicide. Many more have struggled through their lives with a sexual conviction still visible on their records. It's simply an injustice. And those servicemen and women, alongside the thousands and thousands of other men from pre-1967, deserve not a pardon. A pardon implies they were once wrong and with the passage of time may be forgiven. They did nothing wrong in the first place and deserve a complete exoneration from their wrongful convictions. But for me, things did change. I was posted to London, and shortly after that, at the age of 18, Due to the good mates I had around me, the freedom a city like London can afford young people, and a sense of finally belonging somewhere, I was able to allow myself to tell people that I was gay, and I've never looked back since. It wasn't easy coming out, but I have to say, I did it because it was the most natural progression of something about me that was so very much fundamental. Soon after coming out, I qualified into the ranks of the Blues and Royals and began my duties as a member of the elite Queen's Lifeguard, riding with the Royals by day, hitting the bars of Soho and Fitzrovia by night, and my mum will be relieved right now to know that I'm not going to go into them stories here. 2 years after that, I deployed to Iraq and served as a formation reconnaissance soldier, driving long-range desert patrols on the Iranian border. It was the most challenging experience of my life to date, and I still can't quite comprehend what we managed to achieve out there. And a year after that, I found myself passing on that first-hand experience of war whilst training other soldiers in Canada who were facing deployment. At each stage, I grew and became much more aware of the world and its differences along the way. Each chapter that followed in my career following actually stepping out and into the unknown where talking about my sexuality was concerned, I excelled. And today, I can look back at all of that and attribute that success, whether it be on the battlefield or in the mess bars of the Canadian prairies, to being comfortable in my own skin. The difference in me, the difference in all of us, is what makes us unique. And the best teams, the winning teams anywhere, and let me tell you, the Army is not in the habit of taking on battles it cannot win, are the teams that express the most diversity. In allowing gay people to serve, regardless of how that rule change came about, what happened really was the Army became more effective because people like me could stop hiding something about themselves that was so central. And when you remove that pressure, soldiers, men and women, flourished. They became great. The Army became better. And to live and feel that change, to see it firsthand and to be able to talk about it is incredible. In 2009, President Obama announced that he would make it a priority of his to end the ban on gay people serving in the US military. Don't ask, don't tell was an ugly rule which effectively made serving in the military impossible for gay Americans. Obama sent a team of officers from the Pentagon to the UK to explore how the rule change had affected soldiers and the operational output of the British Army here in 2000, which led to me sitting somewhat nervously in front of half a dozen American officials in an office in London one January morning in 2010. They asked countless questions, nothing was off limits, and believe me, they asked a lot. But it was nothing I'd not been asked before. Soldiers, I've always found to be somewhat curious, and sometimes a little more than others. After roughly an hour of telling them getting a shower with other guys was about as interesting as watching paint dry, or recounting them time and time of visiting gay bars with other soldiers, straight soldiers. And that's another thing I want to mention. In the 10 years of serving alongside those soldiers, I can tell you that mostly the boys don't care where the beer is coming from, and preferably they like it cheap. I butted in after some of these questions and told them what I just told you. I had performed better on operations. I had possibly survived those tasks, those missions, and other activities as a direct result of being able to concentrate fully on those tasks at hand, on my comrades, and in particular, the bad guys. And because of this, me and my mates came home. Now, do you think I would have been able to do that if I was constantly worried someone was going to find out something that could lead me to prison, unemployment, social exclusion? They looked at me in silence. The answer is simply no, I told them, and we concluded our business. When a year later, gay Americans within the military would learn the news that they were no longer being hunted out, that gay citizens of America could now join the Army, and that the military was effectively no longer homophobic, I poured myself a large glass of wine and toasted to the news. It's a little bit of activism that I've always felt the most proud of. Ladies and gentlemen, that's change. But by the time my army career came to an end a couple of years later, I'd always felt that the army was a hell of a job for a young person. But as my 20s started to pass by, I became curious about what else was out there. I gave it a lot of thought, but ultimately decided that the time was right to go off and try other things. And one of those other things I wanted to try was to write. So I did. I wrote a book. I was lucky to get a book deal from Ian Dale at Biteback, and the process of sitting down and writing the ins and outs of those 10 years I've just summarised came very naturally to me. But upon submitting that manuscript to my publisher, I found myself on the receiving end of a phone call almost immediately. I'd recalled at the start of the book the story I told you earlier, the sergeant on my first day who made that terrible statement about gay people. My publisher, Ian, wanted me to get him proof. He said there might be a legal nightmare around accusing someone of saying something of that nature. So I had to go away and find that proof, and I wondered how I would do that. Because of the wonders of Facebook, I was able to find people who were in the room at that very, very time. And I spoke to 2 people originally, and I asked them if they could remember what has happened that morning. And both of them come back and said, no, can't remember that at all. And I suddenly thought, crap, I've made this up. This has all happened in my imagination. I rung another 2 people, and one of them said, oh, I vaguely remember that to be the case. And then the 4th and the 5th person both said that they remembered quite clearly. So I went back to my publisher, all confident that there were people who remembered the incident and I could go ahead and publish that book. But he still wasn't happy. He rightly had the weight of his lawyers breathing down upon him. I'm afraid you're going to have to speak to him, James, was what I got back from my publisher. So there it was. I was to write to this homophobic symbol from early in my army career. And this is what he wrote back. This is my book, by the way. It's available in all good bookshops. $16.99. There we go. In my nearly 40 years of living, I've done things and said things that I now reflect on and think, would I have done or said those things differently? I'm roughly 15 years older than you and joined the army when you would have been a baby. Things were a lot different then. The army and world in general was a lot more conservative in regards to a lot of things, not least homosexuality, but generally anything that wasn't the norm. I have found out in the last 8 years since leaving the army that there is a life outside the regiment, and everything that you're told is not always the truth. The statement I made upon reflection was a statement I would definitely change. I apologise for any comments I made in the past, and now, with a few more years under my belt, I realise that everyone should be allowed to live their lives without judgment. I'm sorry. Change, ladies and gentlemen. And so, Chancellor, Vice-Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen, people can change. People can change and organisations can change. And when those 2 things happen, entire nations can change. And that's what I want you to take away from my speech this afternoon. Change. Earlier this year, the British Army was ranked by Stonewall as one of the top 100 gay-friendly employers in the country to work for. In the space of 15 years, it's gone from criminalising people to actively celebrating the fact it has lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender members within its ranks. It has changed. So next time someone says, oh, you'll never change this place, or perhaps when someone says a person can't change their views on something, anything, or when we think about Russia, Nigeria, and many, many other places around the world, it's not safe to say the words, I'm gay, we can look at this example and say, to hell with it. Anybody can change, and that's what this honorary fellowship says to me. It will always shout very loudly from my mantelpiece that change is always inevitable, and it's brilliant. I will always work with this university to continue the momentum of celebrating difference and rewarding those who are shapeshifters and cultivating change. We've come so far, but we have so much further to go. Thank you once again, Chancellor. Thank you once again, Glyndŵr. And to those of you graduating today, all that's left for me to say is congratulations. Now please go into the world and change it. Thank you very much.
Bydded hysbys i aelodau'r Brifysgol ac i bawb sydd yn bresennol fod y Brifysgol wedi rhoddi'r awdurdod i'r athro Graham Upton i dderbyn i'w graddau fyfyrwyr Prifysgol Glyndŵr a enillodd raddau yn unol a rheolau'r Brifysgol. Gwelir enwau'r rhai y gellir ei derbyn i'w graddau yn y cynulliad hwn yn y rhestrau preintiedig sydd wedi ei dosbarthu. Let it be known to members of the university and to all who are present that the university has granted authority to Professor Graham Upton to admit to their degrees students of Glyndŵr University who have qualified for degrees according to the regulations of the university. The names of those who may be admitted to their degrees in this congregation are to be seen on the printed lists that have been distributed. Anrhydeddus is Ganghellor. Cyflwynaf I chi y myfyrwyr hyn o Brifysgol Glyndŵr i'w graddau, diplomau a'i tyst ysgrifau priodol. Honourable Vice-Chancellor, I present you these students from Glyndŵr University to their respective certificates, diplomas and degrees. Diploma Addysg Uwch, Diploma of Higher Education.
Catherine Lunt.
Diploma.
Thomas Crawford. Jennifer Hughes.
Gradd sylfaen yn y celfyddydau, Foundation Degree in Arts.
Timothy Cowell.
Baclor yn y celfyddydau anrhydedd, Bachelor of Arts Honours.
Val Rock, Abigail Dodwell, Sophie Edwards, Georgia Evans. Jack Hardiman, Sarah Hughes, Isaac Jolly, Wan Yi Lee. Rong Ouyang, Indigo Parry, Georgia May Quinn, Chelsea Taylor. Samuel Torr, Caris Wright, Helen McGrath. Cahill O'Brien, Dermot O'Mara, Ana Sanchez Gomez. Gareth Evans, Gareth Lewis, Daniel Lowry, David McGann. Sophie Stelfox, David Thomas, Emma Davenport, Lorraine Gibbs. Sarah Hoare, Bethan Jarvis, Carly Sandham Jones, Alice Wheatley, Susan Williams.
Cyd enillydd gwobr celf a dylunio Prifysgol y Trydydd Oes Wrecsam, joint winner of the Wrexham University of the Third Age Art and Design Prize,
Felicio Nunes. Ryan Weeks, Sophie Cashel, Jessica Coombe, Frank Hagar, J. Lauer Baker, Tommy Needham, Hannah Roberts. Agnieszka Selziak, Jamie Smith, and Ant Sakar. Tanya Clark, Catherine Ellis, Liam Grindley, Monica Jaworska, Ryan Jones. Thea Leoyan, Anthony Matthews, Wei Zhang Wu, Christian Williams. Jordan Wynne, Tom Dovey, Jonathan Garrett. Gwennan Rees, Stacey Ward, Georgina Gittings, Bethan Griffiths. Victoria Norman, Billy Patterson, Kelsey Pugh, Leah Bartley. Emery Canono, Cheryl Doherty, Jessica Evans, Jean Holloway. Paris Mackenzie, Roseanne O'Hagan, Patricia Sott, Kaylee Wilkinson, apologies. Magdalene Cartwright, Susan Catherall, Charlotte Collier-Jones, Gillian Ellison. Rory Hickford, Karen Hodgson, Amy Jones, Charlotte Jones. Alexandra Keats, Andrew Lowe Smith, Samantha Morton, Farquhar Richardson.
Cyd enillydd gwobr celf a dylunio Prifysgol y Trydydd Oes, Wrecsam, joint winner of the Wrexham University of the Third Age Art and Design Prize.
Nicola Roberts. Nicholas Robertson, Myra Ryan, Lindsay Waft, Joshua Warren. Samantha Williamson, Kate Wolfe, Sophia Breeze, Michael Conroy. Nicola Hayden, Simon James, Geraint Jeffries, Olivia Lomas. Holly Pearson, Emma Simon, Nina Smith, Ashley Talbot.
Enillydd Gwobr Dyniaethau Prifysgol y Trydydd Oes, winner of the University of the Third Age Humanities Prize,
Jacqueline Turk. Hugh Williams, Joseph Williams, Hayley Williams. Joshua Ball, Susanna Blakely, Casey Lee Ball, Elise Hansbury. Amy James, Ewan Jones, Laura Notwell, Adele Lloyd. April Marston, Madison Matthews, Douglas Monk, Charlie Mortimer. Paris Mackenzie, Roseanne O'Hagan, Patricia Sock, and Kaylee Wilkinson. Sorry. Can I just draw your attention to the fact I've made a mistake? I do apologise to those students. Can I correct the name list there? It's Roseanne Pellos, Stephanie Phillips, Siobhan Taff, and Manon Thomas. Please accept my apologies. Back to the script. Jason Wilkes, Michael Wright, Philip B, Gareth Price.
Hoffwn yn awr wahodd yr is-ganghellor I roi ei anerchiad. I would now like to invite the Vice-Chancellor to give his address.
Chancellor, graduating students, honoured guests, ladies and gentlemen. Great pleasure for me to welcome you today to this awards ceremony. Very special day for everyone, but clearly a particularly special day for our graduating students. You're the reason, the obvious reason, for our shared celebration. Now, gaining a degree is one of the highest acts of personal achievement, and you should be proud of what you have achieved through your hard work, through your commitment, and your engagement with the many and differing opportunities presented by university learning and university living. To our graduates, I know I speak on behalf of all the staff and governors of the university when I say congratulations and well done. Delighted at the opportunity this afternoon to be with you at this formal part of the afternoon, and later we'll meet again in the informal surroundings of the Edward Cleard building to share your success with you. But as we celebrate today, I think it's important that we remember those too who have made your success possible. That'll include friends and colleagues in the university who've given you support and encouragement during their time. And we've heard there are plenty of you here with the cheering and support you've had just this afternoon. But also includes the lecturing staff, the technicians in the university, and others who have supported you during your time here. They range from the library staff, who I hope have fed you intellectually, to the refectory staff who've fed you more physically. Equally, it includes the officials of the Students' Guild, who I hope have looked after your interest while you've been here. I can assure you they have certainly represented you at every level of the university and hopefully also provided for some of your social and sporting needs. I think it's also important you remember those who helped you get here in the first place. Perhaps it's teachers at school, employers, workmates, and of course your families. Obtaining a degree isn't easy, but of course it's not supposed to be. It takes dedication, it takes application, it takes hard work. And none of that's possible unless you have a suitably supportive environment. People in that environment who let you get on with your studies, people who shoulder some of your responsibilities, some of your duties, in order to give you time that you need for your studies. And those people, and particularly those here today, also deserve your thanks. I'm sure you couldn't have managed without them, and on your behalf, I would like to say thank you to everyone who's here and supporting a friend or family member. We're all entitled to feel pride in the achievement of someone we love. And I hope you are all very proud of the achievements of your son or daughter, your husband, wife, or in some cases your mother and father, because what they've achieved really is fantastic. And I hope you experience great joy here in this ceremony in the success that they have achieved. The past year has been a tough one for the university, but also a hugely successful one. We faced a range of issues, but I'm pleased to say that these have been largely resolved, and we now really are able to concentrate on providing the services that you would expect in a university like Glyndŵr. Financial problems that we had are now behind us, and we're looking towards a surplus in the current year. We've overhauled our activities in London and now operate out of a very impressive site in Kingston. We're consolidating our research, seeking out how we continue to develop our research expertise in a range of subject areas, but also to support innovation, to support creativity and entrepreneurship, and promote the quality of our social and cultural life. We're engaging fully with a range of further and higher education partners, business and industry, a range of other stakeholders in the public and voluntary sector. What's driving us there is a recognition of the important part we need to play in providing a skilled workforce and promoting the economic development of our region. Less than a month ago, we held the first ever meeting of the University Court, which includes representatives from many walks of life from across the north of Wales, who will give us invaluable support and guidance and be really useful critical friends as we move forward in our development. Now, some of you over here might be sitting there thinking, what's he on about? What's it got to do with us? Well, what I hope I'm starting here today is a process of continuing excitement and pride that you will feel in this university and you'll feel for the rest of your lives. We want you to read of things that happen here and feel that pride, feel that sense of excitement that we do in terms of our development. This year, the university celebrated its 7th birthday. So we're a very young university. But in that, we are looking forward to build on foundations which go back in terms of a long heritage here in Wrexham. A long heritage where this institution has been a powerhouse for the development of the region. Glyndŵr is proud of that heritage, proud of that background, and determined to build on this for a successful future of a university of and for this region. A university of which the various communities we serve can feel justly proud. Now, students this afternoon come mainly from the fields of media, art and design, and psychology and sports science. And as a Vice-Chancellor, the achievements of students and staff really are very much more important than looking at financial spreadsheets and management structures. For a Vice-Chancellor, it's really important to see what people achieve, what people do. And this year has been a very good one for the people in the fields I've just mentioned. Some of our students, numbers of our students, have had widespread recognition for their work. One was shortlisted for the Irish Times Photographer of the Year Prize. Others have exhibited at the Millennium Stadium, festivals in Toronto, festivals in the Lake District, down in Chelsea and London. Students have appeared on the BBC Countryfile programme and have produced a Welsh language-winning student film. But we also, in the region, continue to develop links with others, partners in the media, partners in industry. And journalism students this year were part of a multidisciplinary team which worked with the BBC as part of a competition to devise and develop an innovative news service. And a long-standing relationship with the BBC has helped us to establish our own community radio station, Calon FM, which this year, for the 2nd year running, was named Radio Academy's Nations and Regions Station of the Year for Wales. Amazing achievement. Particular student success, too, has happened in other areas. One student's been employed in China as narrative designer for a new Xbox game that's going to be released globally in time for this Christmas. Another was shortlisted as Business Design Centre New Designer of the Year and got through to the final 4. Yet another was runner-up for the award of the Best International Student Paper. Staff have also been busy. Just to name a few, Colin Heron produced a paper for the Audio Engineering Society. Steve Davis, Mike Wright, Stuart Cunningham continued important research on touchscreen technology and its uses with wearable technology. This year we've doubled our numbers in psychology. Last year we were delighted that the accreditation of our course by the British Psychological Society was renewed. Last year, for the first time, we entered psychology into the survey of research at UK universities, known as the Research Excellence Framework, in which the performance of the university performed extremely well, with significant elements of research being judged to be world-leading and even more to be termed what's internationally significant. So a good year in all sorts of ways, a good year for a Vice-Chancellor. But as I said earlier, today is very much about our students, our graduating students. Now, just a few words to you. I want to begin by saying that your achievements and endeavours are obviously important to you yourselves, but also important to us. And all the more so because we're living through globally difficult and complex times, economically, environmentally, politically, and socially. And the future horizon has shifted quite unpredictably to create much greater uncertainty for us all. But how you cope with the uncertainty and shifting environment is really, really important. Martin Luther King, that passionate driver of change, once said that the measure of a person is not where he or she stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where they stand at times of challenge and controversy. And I'm sure all of you have been on a personal journey over the last period of time while you've been studying with us, and that today marks the completion of a stage in that journey. But I hope in that we have prepared you well to cope with the challenge and the controversy, to stand up and be counted, as our Honorary Fellow just referred to. And as you move away from the university to be effective and innovative, we really do wish you every success. Education in the 21st century is probably more important than it's ever been. In that increasingly complex world that I mentioned a moment ago, we need people who have specialist knowledge. We need people like you who are innovative, can be innovative and thoughtful to ensure that our society thrives. We need people like you with recognised qualifications that people can trust, and they can trust your judgment and your expertise. Now, at the level of individual awards, I'm sure what you achieve, the qualifications you achieve today, will help you ensure fulfilling and successful lives. Success in higher education does lead to rewarding careers, does lead to economic advantage. But it also supports a much broader perspective, which I hope encourages openness to new ideas. I hope it encourages tolerance of difference and an orientation towards selfless service to the community. And in that sense, your success today is a success for society more generally. You'll do, I'm sure, various things with your degree qualifications that you receive today. Some of you might continue to carry on studies, and as you'll see from the groups today, we have a range of courses here in the university now, and I hope some of you will think of coming back to us and staying with us to do further qualifications. We have got the ability now to go right through to the doctoral qualifications. But I suspect many of you, certainly in the first instance, will see your future as being in the world of work. And if so, I'm sure you'll be very pleased to know that students from this university, graduates from this university, have the highest average graduate starting salary in Wales. With one exception, that's the very much older university in Cardiff. But they've been around a very long time and they've had a big start on us. But you can go out there expecting to be well received in the workplace. But whatever you choose to do, one thing I would like to ask you to do is to keep in contact with us. We've got an alumni association. You will automatically become part of that. And that association is a really important channel of communication between us and you. From time to time, we will let you know things that are going on here. We'll keep you informed as long as you make sure we have your contact details. But to be really effective, the communication's got to be two-way. So what I'd like to ask you to today is do keep in touch with us too. Let us know how you're getting on. Let us know what you're doing. Let us know ways that you think you can help us to develop, because we are your university. During your studies, I'm sure you've developed a wide range of skills and knowledge. As an educational psychologist, as you might expect, I would like to say I hope you've also learned something about yourselves. I hope you've learned how you function, how you react to different situations. I would guess for most of you, if you reflect back over your course, there will have been times when everything's been flying, everything's been fine. Other times, perhaps, when you're struggling. Maybe many lessons you can take for that, but I hope one will be that you'll realize that success doesn't come easy. It does require effort, it does require commitment, it does require determination. But I hope in particular, in your course, one thing I hope that has helped you develop is a confidence in yourself. Confidence in your own judgment, a confidence to allow you to take control of how and where you apply your effort. But finally, I hope you look back at your time at Glyndŵr with great affection and pleasure. I hope your course gave us a rich and rewarding experience. On the basis of what I know about your courses, about what I've read about many of you, I feel pretty confident as you leave us today, you have that ability to grasp your future positively and the ability to go and lead rewarding lives. But not just lives for yourself, not purely about you, about your families, your friends, about the communities in which you live and work, about the world more generally. Finally, I'd just like to wish you success in achieving your life's ambitions. I wish you every success in your future career. And I hope you will keep in touch, because I do look forward to hearing about your future achievements. But most of all, I wish you good luck, I wish you good health, and I wish you happiness. Thank you.
Anrhydeddus is-ganghellor, cyflwynaf i chi y myfyrwyr hyn o Brifysgol Glyndŵr i'w graddau, diplomau a'i tystysgrifau priodol. Honourable Vice-Chancellor, I present you these students from Glyndŵr University to their respective certificates, diplomas and degrees. Bachelor mewn gwyddoniaeth anrhydedd, Bachelor of Science, Honours.
David Edwards, Christopher Fawkes, Samuel Jackson, Jamie Massey.
Enillydd Gwobr Blodwen a Christmas Evans, winner of the Blodwen and Christmas Evans Prize,
Stefan Owens. Darren Pierce, Thomas Truman, Jason Williams.
Enillydd Gwobr Cymdeithas Seicoleg Prydain, winner of the British Psychological Society Prize,
Dion Aston. Sarah Blunden, Susan Burstnall, Kerry Butt, Ria Davey.
Enillydd Gwobr yr Athro Alex Carson, winner of the Professor Alex Carson Prize,
Sarah Davies. Annabelle Edge, Emma Farquhar, Rhiannon Garland.
Enillydd gwobr Cangen Cymru o Gymdeithas Seicolegol Prydain, winner of the Welsh branch British Psychological Society Prize,
Hannah Glasson. Robin Glover, Catherine Griffiths, James Holden, Hannah Lowry. Sandra Michkowiak, Rebecca Parry, Jessica Paul, Amber Percy. Catherine Phillips, Tara Rhodes, Stephanie Roberts, Rhiann Shaw. Gagana Vladimirova, Troy Woodward, Balkis Arain, Adam Brown. Christopher Belmont, Bronwen Edwards, William Harrison, Mohammed Mayer.
Cyd enillydd y gwobr gwyddor chwaraeon ac ymarfer corff, joint winner of the Sport and Exercise Science Award,
James Rich. Hannah Stanley, David Taylor, Chloe Vaughan, Joshua Wilson. Christopher Chapman, Nicole Cosgrove, Oliver Crimp, Ashley Dallow. Charlotte Gatt, Chloe Jones, Johanna Jones, William Mayer, Neil McGorian.
Hyd enillydd gwobr gwyddor chwaraeon ac ymarfer corff, joint winner of the Sport and Exercise Science Award,
Gemma Nelson. Harry Grease, Jordan Lovell, Gareth Orme, Danny Pryor. Anton Tishenko, Amy Davis, Lawrence Wheel, Caris Hines. David Jones, Hannah Owens, Gareth Roberts, Matt Rowlands. Georgina Sinclair, David Terhorst, Jake Williams.
Meistr yn y celfyddydau, Master of Arts,
Anthony Jackson, Sam Shepherd, Ying Su, Melissa Harrison.
Meistr ymchwil, Master of Research,
Lee Jones, Emily Karim, Paige Davis.
Meistr mewn Gwyddoniaeth, Master of Science, enillydd gwobr Stephen Loudon, winner of the Stephen Loudon Prize,
Jana Britton Scottin. Christopher Rutledge.
Doethur mewn gweinidogaeth, Doctor of Ministry,
Henry Ratter.
Doethur mewn athroniaeth, Doctor of Philosophy,
Owen Edwards.
Well, this is the come now to what is the most formal part of this afternoon's ceremony. It's at the point at which we actually do confer the degrees or other awards on our graduands, and after which they become graduates. Now, at some of the more ancient universities in the UK, this would be done in Latin. In the newer universities in England, it's done in English. But here in Wales, we do it in Welsh. In a few moments, the orator will ask me to confer the degrees and all their privileges on those in attendance. He'll then ask me to do the same for those who are not present here today and are getting their degrees in absentia. To do this, what I'm going to do in a moment is ask the graduands to stand. No clapping at this stage, that'll come later. But could I ask the graduands to all stand?
Anrhydeddus is-ganghellor, cymeradwyaf I chi dderbyn y myfyrwyr hynny i'w gwobrau ac I holl freintiau'r graddau hyn.
Throi o diodod o brifysgol a'n feri Edward I mi, dybwniach chi I graddau ac I hollol fratiau graddau hyn.
Anrhydeddus is-ganghellor, cymeradwyaf I chi dderbyn yn ei habsynoldeb y myfyrwyr hynny a enwyd yn rhannau priodol y rhaglen i'w gwobrau ac I holl freintiau'r graddau hyn.
Throi o diodod o brifysgol a'n feri Edward I mi, dybwniaf o'r rai a nodwyd, yn o'i habsynoldeb i'w graddau ac I hollol freintiau graddau hyn. That's it, you're now graduates.
Gai ofyn yn awr I gynrychiolydd o fwrdd Llywodraethwyr Prifysgol Glyndŵr, Mr Derek Griffin, gyflwyno gwobrau I fyfyrwyr nad ydynt yn graddio heddiw. May I now invite the representative of the Board of Governors of Glyndŵr University, Mr Derek Griffin, to introduce the awards to non-graduating students.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have already heard from the Chancellor and Vice-Chancellor about the importance of celebrating the hard work and success of the 1,000 or so individuals who are receiving their degrees and diplomas over these last 3 days. However, we should also remember those who have previously received awards from the university. So it gives me great pleasure to announce that the university is once again in the position to present the Owen Glyndŵr Society Prize for alumni of Glyndŵr University. May I now ask the orator to read out the name of the alumnus who will be receiving the prize today.
Gwobr Cymdeithas Owain Glyndŵr I gyn-fyfyrwyr, the Owain Glyndŵr Society Prize for Alumni. O'r radd bia anrhydedd darlledu, newyddiaduriaeth a chysylltiadau cyfryngol. From the BA Honours Broadcasting, Journalism and Media Communications, Charlie Jones.
This is, as the orator said earlier, the sixth of our 6 graduation ceremonies this week. And as it's the last one, I just want to say a small number of thank yous to some key people who have made these ceremonies over the last few days run so smoothly. Number of people to thank. First of all, members of the Board of Governors who have been present throughout the week and in nearly all cases had key roles to play in the actual proceedings. A particular thanks, though, to our Chair of Governors and Chancellor, Sir John Shortridge, who has just presided over his 20th but very last ceremony because he is retiring from that position at the end of the year. He's been an excellent Chancellor, an excellent Chair of Governors, providing dignity and stability we as a university look for in that role. So John, thank you very much for all your work for the university over past years. Thanks also must go, though, to Mr. Derek Griffiths, who's just addressed you. He's Deputy Chair of our board, and today is also his last graduation ceremony. Not sure how many you've done, Derek, but I think it's quite a number over many years. But may also thank others. First of all, the band, the Salvation Army beside us here. Thank you so much for all the music you've played during the ceremonies and done it so well, been in and out on time. Excellent. Thank you very much. There's also a Regis team from our registry. Number of people. I'm going to mention their first names, much to many of you, but I'm sure they will hear that. But particular thanks to Gabby, Lynn, Louise, Sue, Katie, and all the others. It's been, without you, this just couldn't happen as well as it does. Thanks to the state staff who've been crucial to helping us. Thanks to catering. Thanks to commercial services. All the things you've done are really, really very important. It's also our film and television team. You may or may not know it, but these ceremonies have been streamed live so others can see them, and there's lots of excerpts from them and things on Facebook and other avenues. We should thank Eden Ravenscroft for supplying the gowns and doing that so efficiently and well, and everyone else who's taken a part in the proceedings on and off the stage. Particular thanks to Hugh Garman, our orator, known to some of you, I think, from your courses, and to Rosie Brown, our proclamations reader. Rosie is a student here in the university, has done a marvellous job this week, and both have taken part in all ceremonies. I think also I'd like to add to that thank you to Andrew Parry, who's just behind me, for all the coordinating work he's done and rescuing me on a few occasions too during the course of the week. So thanks to all those people for making these ceremonies such a memorable experience for all our new graduates and families. Thank you.
Hoffwn yn awr ofyn i'r canghellor gair cynulliad. I would now like to invite the Chancellor to close the congregations.
Ladies and gentlemen, the granting of an academic award brings with it privileges and responsibilities. Through your hard work and diligence, you have joined a distinguished society of scholars. I would like to add my personal congratulations to those of the Vice-Chancellor and of the University. And in doing so, I formally close the congregations of Glyndŵr University and the University of Wales.
A dyna ddiwedd ein seremoni am y prynhawn, cynhelir cynulliad nesaf Prifysgol Glyndŵr yn 2016. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this afternoon's graduation ceremony. The next congregation of Glyndŵr University will be held in 2016. Gai ofyn i chi gyd sefyll ac aros ar eich traed hyd nes i'r orymdaith gan gynnwys y graddedigion newydd adael y neuadd. May I ask you all please to stand and remain standing until the procession, including the new graduates, has left the hall. Thank you.
14.